Okay, gents, let's now focus up and down the Premier League table. Match week 13 of the season. We're back after the international break. So many huge games coming up. And Nick, I'm coming to you straight away. The big one of the weekend, Man City against Liverpool. We talked about it in depth on PST already this week, but this is a brilliant clash between Guardiola and Klopp. Both teams have shown signs, obviously they're at the top of the table, so they've shown signs that they're in a good spot, but also just little weaknesses that I think they can be exposed this season. So in theory, that all those ingredients adds up to a very, very tasty clash this weekend.
Yeah, I'll throw a little twist on it too. I think it's the nouveau rivalry we did not want to go away, and there was danger of it going away. But I also want to say that Pep and Jurgen Klopp have delivered in sticking around, and both of these guys, these are, even in a land where you're a powerful manager, to stick around this long after those successes, to not just cash in but to double down. I love this rivalry. I love what it can become for the Premier League. And I think there's a sneaky hint, whether you think it would be an upset for Liverpool to get a draw or even a win, there's a sneaky hint of it kickstarting the Premier League weekend with a bang here.
Yeah, no, I think so. I'm going to go for a Man City win, I think, but I do expect goals. I think the lack of control that City had against Chelsea before the break is going to be a bit of a reoccurring theme for them and something they're not used to and don't quite know how to deal with. And Liverpool are going to bring that chaos, and it'll be a wide open game. But I just think Haaland and City will just figure it out in this one in particular. But Liverpool, they'll be right up there this season. I expect them to be in the top 4, and maybe they could hang in the title race if Salah keeps playing the way he is and the other pieces around him are impacting the games like they have been recently too. So I'm really excited for that one. And Andy, when we look elsewhere in the Premier League this weekend, I'm really excited for Tottenham against Aston Villa because this is a huge game for your Spurs team. And Aston Villa, I said it a few weeks ago, and everyone laughed at me. I said they're in the title race. I got a bit carried away, I think, but they are a very good team. And this is a good kind of test for both of them to see where they're at this season and what is achievable for both these teams. But they're really in really good shape, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I'm quite worried about them. Actually, for Spurs, what happened last time out, it felt like maybe the season fell apart a little bit. Madison out until the new year, Van de Ven out until the new year, Romero suspended for a few. It's just, this is Spurs. This is Spurs. They looked so good, and I think it was pretty obvious. Like, they weren't blowing the doors off of teams. They weren't dominating the games the way that the table, when they were top of the league, might have made you think that they were doing. They were piecing it together, and they were figuring it out game by game as they go along. And to be clear, I think that is the hallmark of a very good manager. It's something that, I don't know, Manchester United, who we talked about at length this week, they could use someone who is able to do that and really affect the game and the results and what's happening on the field. So he's going to have to affect a lot, Ange, in this one and for quite a few weeks coming up with those two key injuries. And Aston Villa, after you said top 4 potentially, they just went out and lost to Nottingham Forest, of course, but they bounced back last time. Yeah, it happens. You took your shot. This is going to be an entertaining one. I think Spurs are going to be completely unable to control the game and keep the tempo down, and I think that will make Aston Villa very, very happy when they can get out onto the counterattack. I think it's going to be very end to end. I would say it's going to be 3-2 to Villa, I think. Ooh. I think Villa are going to it's just Romero and Van de Ven, both out of the who starts at center back? Eric Dyer and, Davinson Sanchez left in the summer, and everybody rejoiced. I think a lot of Spurs fans would probably like to have Davinson back right about now.
Yeah, intriguing. I think Spurs will nick it and maybe a 3-2, but it's going to be a really, really good game in North London. In West London, Nick, Brentford against Arsenal. Arsenal, I guess, just kind of been chugging along pretty nicely under Mikel Arteta. What do you expect from them? Because Brentford, it's just a really tough place to go, right? And a really horrible, tough team to play against.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a who are you game for Arsenal, because you mentioned that they don't seem terribly affected. We hear the nonsense. I don't want to say nonsense. I think it's funny. acting like you're keeping a young David Seaman on the bench when we talk about Ramsdale, but it doesn't affect them. They go out there and they play their game. And Arteta has done a good job of instilling that, of telling people you're fighting for your spot. We maybe grimace when Eddie Nketiah starts or Reece Nelson has to play a role. Arsenal doesn't. There's an expectation there. And while I don't think they're at the level of the teams literally above them right now, I don't think they're a Man City or a Liverpool. They keep not losing games. 26 goals for, 10 goals against. In fact, I would go as far as to say for an Arsenal team that was once the sexiest team in the world, literally, with Henry, just kind of in a team that goes about their business. And I don't think they're great, but they keep proving me wrong. 1 loss through 12 games in the Premier League, guys.
Not bad, not bad. And obviously, Aaron Ramsdale will be playing this weekend because David Raya is on loan from Brentford. Those loan rules means he can't play. So that kind of narrative around it as well is going to be intriguing. I think Arsenal get the job done 2-1. It will be tough, but could easily see Brentford nicking a point there and just maybe causing Mikel Arteta a few problems. So intrigued to see how Ramsdale gets on because, like you said, Nick, a lot of noise around him. We've focused on teams kind of around the European picture. Newcastle host Chelsea. We talked about that a lot this week on PST. Andy, obviously, I think we all think Chelsea will probably get the win here, given they're in a good vein of form right now, and Newcastle have been hit by injuries. But anything you want to focus on in that game in particular?
No, that's it right there. Both teams have injuries. Both teams are, I think, still very much this season, at least, trying to kind of figure out who they are. And obviously, one of them has a new manager and a ton of new players. Chelsea's really good, though. And that's, I think, we have seen that. We've seen a very quick development of this team under Pochettino the last month or so. And they were even good performance-wise before that month, but they've really gone up to a new level, and they've got some injured players coming back soon, and Kunku is not too far away. He was telling Pochettino he'd like to be back after the international break, and so it could be just a couple of weeks before he's back, and what that's going to do for the team. The big one, though, for this week at least, Levi Colwill, who Nick pointed out in the segment about that, if he's not able to go, he's up in the air at the moment. That then opens up a few chances, I think, for Newcastle on the counterattack, especially if Thiago Silva and Disasi are going to be the duo back there. They're both good defenders, but you put them in space and you make them defend 30, 40, 50 yards behind them, and you're going to find a little bit of joy. But I will go 2-1 to Chelsea on this one. I just think that the momentum that they have right now is going to be too tough to stop.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Fulham against Wolves is an intriguing game. Probably Wolves have the upper hand in that one, I'd say. Maybe go for a 2-0. I think Fulham are really struggling to create chances, score goals. Wolves had that great win against Tottenham. Totally deserved. Obviously crazy the way they got it at the end, but they were excellent in that game performance.
Fulham have kind of become Wolves this season, actually.
Right? They just, yeah.
Not great.
They're just... for me, like, Wolves are a team that is getting the absolute maximum out of their ability. Week in, week out, they're finding ways just to crank it up another level. And I think, they've done an excellent job. So I expect Wolves to get past Fulham in that one. Nottingham Forest against Brighton. 2 teams out of form, really. I mean, Forest are really good at home, so I'm leaning towards a draw because I think Brighton are just really, really long winless run for them now, which they're not used to, and I think they really are struggling to juggle Europa League and Premier League. So I'm going to go for a draw in that one, Nick Mendola. And if we look at the relegation picture, now Everton are in the relegation zone, given their 10-point deduction from the Premier League. So they host Manchester United in a big game at Goodison Park. But Everton have been really good this season, right? I think they've got a lot of points on the board that have now been taken away, but they probably should have had even more points than that given their performances. So what do you expect to see when Everton host Manchester United?
Well, you mean the DVDBD, the Donny van de Beek derby?
Wow.
I expect, honestly, not to be down on Manchester United here, but I think Everton presents a real problem for them. A steely midfield, a confident defense. Calvert-Lewin is the sort of guy you want climbing the ladder against an Evans or a Maguire. I actually think Everton are very well positioned to get something out of this, and I think they'll play with a little bit of a bleep you mentality, given the harsh what harsh, whether you think harsh means undue or not, that's a big penalty. And I think that can further band the team together. I like Everton.
Name a better manager to lead a siege mentality of
Exactly,
we have been wronged than Sean Dyche.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing him smile when the snow starts hammering down in a few months' time in England with a short sleeve T-shirt on at Goodison. Perfect man for this situation for the Toffees. He's done a great job. And United, we know they've not been playing well, picking up results. So I can easily see a draw in this one at Goodison at the weekend. Luton against Crystal Palace. I think Luton might nick that one. I think the Palace are kind of struggling a little bit with the creativity. Obviously, some of the players have come back, Eze and Michael Olise, that they need, but still don't think they're quite the Palace that we've seen over the last few years in terms of how dangerous they are. And I like Luton. I told you guys this a lot. I think they have the best chance out of the newly promoted teams to stay up. They know who they are. They're solid enough. They'll create a lot of chances on the counter and set pieces. And Andros Townsend and Ross Barkley, I think, are two really good free signings. So rolling back the year. So I think I'm going to predict a Luton win there at Kenilworth Road. Burnley against West Ham. Andy, poor Burnley. I think we've said that most weeks. They're really struggling, haven't they, back in the Premier League? And West Ham, I mean, was the most West Ham win ever, that 3-2 late win against Forest before the break. I feel like they've done that about 70 times under David Moyes over the last few years, but they're just kind of getting it done. But some big injuries for them over the international break, right? Mikel Antonio and Jared Bowen both struggling with injuries now. So what do you expect? I mean, the Hammers are going to rely on Danny Ings, I suppose, who's hardly played this season. So I don't know. Yeah,
it feels like they've done that a million times under Moyes, because Moyes' teams, whether West Ham or otherwise, have done that about a million times during his career. It's a good time, I think, to play Burnley and even get an away fixture out of the way with the injuries. Antonio and Bowen, that's going to hurt them. But it still feels like, to lose a game, you got to give up chances. And I don't know where the chances are going to come from for Burnley against this West Ham team, the way that they defend. And they're going to find stuff on the counter, because Burnley leave themselves incredibly exposed at the back. And credit to Vincent Kompany, they try to play the way that he wants them to. And you can see it. You can see if Burnley could have 3 years in the Premier League to figure it out and establish themselves, I think they'd be really good. But to do it in 1 year, immediately coming up with the threat of going back down, is just too incredibly difficult. So I'll go West Ham here, 2-1.
Yeah, probably a Ward-Prowse special or something mixed in there. He's been really good since he's been with the Hammers. And the final game this weekend, the Matchweek 13, Sheffield United against Bournemouth. I'm going to go for a Bournemouth win. Really like what I saw against Newcastle. I think they finally kind of figured out the systems, the tactics under Iraola. Sheffield United have done really well to drag themselves within touching distance of safety over the last few weeks. And you know, fair play to them, because I didn't see that coming at all. But I just think Bournemouth have enough quality in the final third to win that one at Bramall Lane. So a lot coming up in the Premier League and Matchweek 13. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com as we give you all the how to watch information, preview team news, reaction analysis, and video highlights, and much more during all this chaos. We love it. Thanks so much, Nick and Andy, for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching. Enjoy the action this weekend, and we'll speak to you all very soon indeed. Cheers, guys.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.